Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Summer. Is anyone else obsessed with curtain bangs like me? Or is it just me? Let me know in the comments if you love them like I do. They are so fun to cut and they really can give such a pop to your haircut, really opening the face up, and they're easy to style at home on your own. And today I am going to be showing you guys 2 different ways that you can cut curtain bangs or have your curtain bangs cut. One being more ideal for finer hair types with a bit of a disconnect, and the other being for medium to thick hair with more blending, as well as adding in some layers and texture all through the rest of the hair to complete this cut. Let me know in the comments which curtain bang style is your favorite. Let's go. All right, so I am going to be doing this haircut on dry hair. Oftentimes with the bang, I prefer to cut it on dry hair. It just gives you a little bit more control of, because you're taking away the shrinking aspect that happens when the hair is wet and then you dry it, and then sometimes that's where it happens and you're like, oh no, sorry, your bangs are shorter maybe than they wanted. We've all done it in our career. So I'm doing her hair dry, cutting the bangs. I'm gonna take my sectioning, and what we're gonna do to do our section is we're gonna be using the eyebrows as sort of our guide. So basing it off of the edge of each eyebrow. You don't really want to go past that point. You're going to end up taking out too much weight from the back side. If you came in and we're taking a parting, let's say this big, you're cutting all that hair, they're going to lose some of the weight down here. So this is why we use the edge of the eyebrow as a guide. And basically I kind of want to go up at a small diagonal to create sort of a triangle shape, but I want to make sure that I'm taking enough weight at the same time to create enough of a swoop for the client. If you take too little, you can create a swoop, but it's not going to be quite as defined as what you see when you look at a typical curtain bang. So I'm going to come in sort of from not all the way to the top part of the head, just a little bit below it, and I'm going to angle it out to the edge of the eyebrow there. So that's coming in nice and neat there. I'm gonna just slightly take that, and I'm gonna clip the rest of this hair out of the way. And then, like I said at the beginning, I am gonna be adding in a little bit of layering throughout the rest of it, just to give some nice shape and movement, because this mannequin has no layers. So I'm gonna do the same thing on this other side, making note again where the edge of that eyebrow is as my guide. I'm gonna come from the top of my previous triangle here at the top, and I'm just gonna come down, take a look. I've gone a little bit too back here. I'm past the edge of that eyebrow, so I'm just gonna come in and correct that, narrow it down more, and that is lining up nice and neat. You can use your comb as a guide, hold it up to the hair to make sure you're in line with that. And we're just gonna clip this out of the way. And then I'm just gonna lightly take a little bit more from this top area to even it out. So once you have your triangle form, what I like to do is grab the hair, pull it down, make sure it's looking thick and even enough on the sides. Usually one side of their hair is thicker than the other, so that's okay, but you at least want the lining part to be as even as possible. So we're gonna come back out to the middle part, and then because I am demonstrating one side to be one way, the other another, I'm just gonna clip this one side out of the way. So I'm gonna be showing you the way you would hold your hands for if you wanted to cut a softer, not softer curtain bang, but a more blended curtain bang. And then the other side is going to be a more disconnected blunt curtain bang. And I'll be explaining, you could do them both ways for any hair type really, but I find the more blended, softer one is ideal for thicker, coarser hair types, and the blunt one that I'm gonna be doing with the disconnect is better for finer, thinner hair types. Okay, so to cut our more blended curtain bang, we're gonna be doing this all in one big section, which is totally opposite of what I always am telling you guys to section, section, section. So how I'm going to be placing my fingers is they are going to be in a vertical, up and down, not side to side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be using the opposite brow, the outer corner of it, as my guide for cutting these bangs. So what we're doing is we're coming over and across, and I wanna make note, the higher up
you bring the hair. So let's say I'm coming more straight out from where the hair is leaving the head. And if I come across and cut, that is gonna be a much shorter bang than if I bring it down a little bit and then come across. So the higher up you have your fingers, the shorter it's gonna be. The further down you have them, the longer it's gonna be. So keep that in mind when you are creating the length of your bangs. So we're aiming for in the eye region, cheekbone-esque. I wanna see them a little shorter and swoop. So we're gonna come in, I'm gonna pull down just slightly, coming across to this outer eyebrow. So again, we're coming down across to the outer corner of the eyebrow, and we are just going to cut straight up. And I'm gonna do a little bit of a point cut into it. So this is gonna be our longest piece when we let it out, and this is gonna be our shortest piece. Get a nice little swoop going here. So as you can see there, it's a little bit of a swoop, and I think I'm gonna actually take this up just a touch more because I did bring that down a little bit longer, but that'll be nice to show you guys the difference. So I'm gonna bring the hair more straight out and over, edge of the eyebrow here, and cut. So the lower the fingers, the longer the bang is gonna be. The higher up you bring it over, the shorter. So down is gonna keep more length, bringing it straight out and over is going to keep it shorter. And that added more of a swoop, and I'm liking the way that that looks. So as you can see, it doesn't look super blunty, it's pretty soft, it has a nice flow to it. You could then always opt to come in and slightly layer into it more if you wanted to soften it up and just point cut in, or if they have that thicker, coarse hair type, it'll kind of take out a little bit more of the weight that may be needed to be removed from somebody who has nice, thick hair, unlike myself that I'm always jealous of. So that is the side for a more blended curtain bang, and then I'm gonna, before we finish up, add layers in everywhere to show you what it looks like when it's fully done. And then this side is going to be our thicker, more of a disconnected bang that is more ideal for those finer, thinner hair types. And the reason why I often suggest more of a disconnected blunt bang is with the finer hair types, while you want everything to blend, you have to kind of change your mindset. Because there's not as much hair on somebody with thinner, finer hair, when you go in and you blend it and soften it up, you remove the weight that they might need to get that pop and that swoop for that nice contrast. So that is why I like to say keep it blunt and more thick. And to do that, instead of coming in with our hands, our fingers up and down, we're gonna go horizontal. So we're changing the angle, and what this is going to allow to do, it's going to stop as much of a swoop, or a blend I should say, where the angle is going down here, and it's gonna be a little bit more bold and straight across. And you can opt to still point cut into it. If you wanna do it more blunt at first, you can, and then always soften it after. But keeping your hands horizontal here is gonna create much more a thicker disconnect than if you're coming in up and down. It's gonna create more of a flow. But we're gonna do it the same as this side. I'm gonna clip this other side out of the way, and we're gonna come across the face. So I've got my fingers here at a horizontal, and doing it this way is a little easier sometimes to set your guide at first, just because you know exactly where you're going to be cutting. And we're gonna pull it straight across here to the corner of the eyebrow and cut. Shorten that up just a little bit in that top corner. So you can see here, this is a much more thicker, more bold, blunt piece. Obviously, we need to soften it up a little bit, but for somebody with that finer hair, cutting it at a blunt is gonna keep it much more fuller looking, and you're keeping more weight right here, so they get the appearance of that nice, thick, full, swoopy curtain bang, versus when you let this out here, you see that this has a much more softer flow to it, which is nice. We still don't have it styled, so don't judge too hard on the thicker blunt. But you can see, I mean, it's hard on a mannequin to see the difference in like finer, thicker hair, but if she was really fine and thin, this is gonna make it look even more fine and thin. So what I would opt to do is come in and still just angle into this a little bit, softly point cut into that bottom part to just lightly soften the bluntness of it. You want it to be a disconnect, but you also don't want it to look like you just took like kitchen scissors and cut at your hair. So I'm just very lightly point cutting here to soften that line a little bit more. Alrighty. I'm just gonna even this out a little bit more on the one side, so when I go to style it, it's at least even in the very front. So now that I've done that, I'm just gonna come in and create some nice layers everywhere. Nothing really too crazy, but just enough to give some movement and shape. I'm not going to be on this side with the thicker, bluntier one. We want it to be a disconnect, so I'm not gonna fully connect them. You can still add in face framing layers and layers all throughout the rest of the hair, but leave a disconnect there. So I'm just separating the front from the back. I'm gonna start with my back layers first. I'm gonna kind of do more of just a regular longer layers, just enough to break it up. I'm not trying to add a ton. So I'm just coming straight out and I'm just point cutting into this top to soften that up, just to give some shape everywhere. I will link in the description below several other haircuts I have. If you're newer to my channel, I've got several layering tutorials, from like a traditional long layer to a shorter layer. I've got other curtain bang ones too, where I do it a little bit differently than I did today. So I'll be sure to link some options in the description below. I'll probably just link my playlist actually, where you can find all of them. So a tip I will say with creating layers, because this is at least the bang part was geared towards one side being for finer hair, the other thicker. If you have a client who has fine hair and they want some layers and they want to keep the weight at the bottom, you don't want to bring your layer down too low on the bottom part of their hair. You want to be able to maintain this thickness and bulk here. So instead of coming down at a low angle, what you would want to do is just bring the hair straight out, and then you're gonna curve your fingers. So you're letting all that hair underneath fall through, but you can still go in and create layers all throughout the top and blend it in. So you're gonna give movement and shape to the hair, but not compromise the weight underneath. And then if you have a client who has all the hair in the world, you know, you obviously can go to town, cutting the layers more so depending on how many they want. But that's a tip I like to do for my finer hair clients that want some layers and movement. So I'm gonna come in now and blend in the softer curtain bang option we have here. And all I'm basically going to do is I'm gonna meet up the hair basically where the bottom part of the bang starts. So I'm just gonna come in with my shears and angle slightly down, gliding through to start breaking that up and giving them more movement all through their face here. I'm gonna pull that hair towards me, cut into that. That's already giving a lot more shape and movement. Just the light layering that I did around the face, it gives her a lot more body. Okay, and then for her sides to add in a little bit more layering on the top, I'm just gonna take it and I'm gonna come straight back towards me. I'm standing behind the client and I'm gonna twist and just cut into this hair that's hanging out here to create a little bit more movement for the client. See all this hair here, just lightly cut into that. All right, so that has created a lot more shape and movement here. And now what we're gonna do is we are going to blend in, while keeping it disconnected, the disconnected blunt side. So I'm gonna clip this over out of the way. Okay, so to lightly blend in the bang we have here, I don't wanna come up and face frame all the way to the bottom piece of the bang because we want it disconnected. And usually a lot of times somebody with finer, thinner hair, you have to be very careful with your face framing because they often don't have either the hair underneath, under their temple, or their sides are just thin in general. So we wanna create some softness through here, but we want to keep the weight here. I don't wanna cut into it too much. So I want some shape and movement, but I'm not gonna be coming in and just gliding down how I did on the other side. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna come in and I'm gonna take the sides and I'm gonna bring them over and all the way across the face. Like as much as you can go across the face here. I'm gonna twist my hands so all this hair is falling out here, and I'm just gonna lightly cut this top bit that's sticking out. Do it again, go all the way up and just cut into that. All right, and so to create her layers throughout the side, I'm gonna be doing what I was doing on the other side. I'm leaving out though this piece around her face. I'm gonna come straight up and back towards me while twisting my fingers and cut into that. Get a new comb if you were in salon. And cut. Come all the way back. Twist, twist, twist. And I've barely got any hair here to cut. You can barely see that. So I'm really big on finer, thinner hair types doing what I like to call like my freehand layer. So I'll just kind of come in and I'll grab pieces of hair and I will just run my scissors through them lightly, just barely taking out hair a little at a time. What this does is it creates some shape and movement, but you don't lose as much weight underneath as you can sometimes get carried away with regular layers, or if you're not watching. I'll link that video below of specifically when I did that. I forget what I titled it, but that way you guys can see how I create that. So we've got some movement and body on both sides. So I'm gonna restyle her out, I think, just to see how she's laying before cutting into it anymore. I'll see if I need to tweak anything on the bangs, if I need on this side to lightly texturize it to make sure it doesn't have too much of like a choppy blunt line. And then this side is probably actually fine because the blending, it blends in nice. So I'm gonna get her restyled and see how she's laying everywhere, and then we will go from there. So I have just lightly spritzed her down again, just so I have some damp hair to be able to really bend the hair into the shape that I want. I'm gonna be using my Cricut 400 brush to really create the shape. And on the bangs, I will dry them side to side, back and forth for quite some time before then switching to my 370 brush and blow drying them back away from the face, so we're creating that nice swoop. And then I am using, of course, my Tymo Air Hive. I love this dryer. I will link it below as well, along with a discount code. Okay, so we have her styled out now, and you guys can see what it's looking like without any additional dry cutting. So this is our side that has the definite disconnect. We've got the swoop coming in here, but we've maintained the length around the face. And then on this other side here, it's much more softer, blended. The swoop is a lot more soft because we have it blending in throughout the bottom. If this were a client in salon, I would come into here a little bit more and cut this to blend in with this top part. So I'm gonna do that so you guys can see. And I'm just gonna do it similar to how I created the face framing. I'm just gonna come in and I can see my guide here. I'm just gonna take my shears and slide down into that. Come back to here. And just a little bit right down in here. But yeah, that is, gave her a little bit more face framing. But then because this other side is meant to be a disconnect, I really, truly would not cut too much in it. You could come down a little bit in the bottom and just slide down into this if you wanted to. Just to lightly like soften it and give a little bit of shape, but you wanna keep it disconnected because remember, this is for clients who maybe don't have the hair underneath. That when you're cutting into it like this, you lose more weight. So if they wanna see the length and some more weight there, leave it disconnected. And then the most I would do for her blunt side, the more disconnected side, is sometimes I'll come right in at the inner corner and just lightly texturize into that. Nothing crazy. I don't wanna make it too soft because I want it to be thick and a disconnect, but just in case it has like too hard of a blunty line. And then if you haven't noticed, I got brand new shears. I'm using the shark fin shears. I've been using these over a month now, and I have to say I'm super happy with them. I've been wanting to try a new company. I've always heard great things about shark fin, and when I went to their website, I loved that they had several different price points, so something for everyone. I have the professional plus stainless for both my cutting and my thinning shears. And then I reached out to Shark Fin actually, and they were able to give me a promo code to share with you guys. So anyone looking for new shears, if you put in my code, which is SS, you will get 2 free texture shears as well as a razor with your purchase. So if you're looking for new shears, I'd go visit their website. I'll link it below as well as a promo code. Check them out. I do use a swivel shear. It's always just been more comfortable for me, but they do have non-swivel options as well. And you get their finger fitting system, which is a patent thing that you can customize to fit your ring finger and your thumb to fit into your shears exactly to your comfort level. So I love them. Check them out. So she's pretty much done though, and we're gonna go ahead and just get finished up here now so you guys can see everything in my after shots.
So here we have our finished look, completely styled. We've got her one side being a more blended curtain bang that flows into the rest of the cut with a softer overall look, and the other side more blunt with a disconnect from the rest of the hair with a little less layering around the face. You really can do either version of the way I cut these for any hair type, but the bluntness and disconnected version is going to be more ideal for clients with thinner, finer hair types, as it will keep the bangs looking as full as possible. Remember to hold your fingers vertical for a more softer blended curtain bang, and keep your fingers horizontal for a more blunt disconnected bang. I like cutting my bangs dry to ensure I'm not taking them too short, and the rest of the layers I did through the hair were similar to the other layering videos I have done that I will link my playlist in the description below. The Tymo Air Hype and the Shark Fin shears will be linked below along with the brushes used today, and I will see you guys next time.